Spore is an evolution simulation game made by Maxis and published by EA in 2008. Many people had very high expectations for this game, as they'd be able to essentially play God by creating their own species. However, the game didn't quite fulfill its potential and was left with just a few glitches. Today I'm going to be attempting to shatter Spore's fragile resolve by pushing the game's mechanics to its limits. So without further ado, join me as I break Spore. I've decided to use Creature Stage for this mission, as not only is it the best for glitches, but it's also actually fun. The first port of call was to create a creature, and I didn't plan to start slow. I wanted to make a creature that would walk as weirdly as possible, because I thought this would increase the chance of its legs glitching out when it hit an object. I think it's safe to say I succeeded in making it look weird, but trust me, this creature looks like a supermodel in comparison to what it'll become. My initial thought was just to run into anything I possibly could, starting with these large rock formations that were all over the place. I really wanted to get on top of these, but I didn't have the ability to jump high enough yet, so I decided to play the actual game for a short bit to get some money. Oh, and I also spent some time phasing through bushes too. After saving up enough stoinks, it was time to mate and evolve my creature. I added feet with better jumping and a single wing which somehow it can use to fly. Arguably, this creature walks even less well than the previous version, but I eventually found a large rock and tried jumping and flying into it. It turns out the rocks in this game have a really weird combination of invisible walls around them, meaning when you force your character towards them, it'll float weirdly before being absolutely slammed back to the ground. I was convinced that if I could force myself to be thrown into the ground hard enough, something bad would happen. My first few attempts were unsuccessful though. I then flew out into the sea and was eaten by a huge green monster. As I was playing the game a bit more to save up for even better jumping, I found these strange pieces of what I assume is driftwood. These are kinda janky, and I actually managed to surf on one for a short while, but nothing more than that. Anyway, if I was going to make any progress, it wasn't going to be with this guy. So it was time to experiment with some even more extreme measures. I tried removing my feet completely and placing them above my head, hoping I would walk underground or something, but it just turned them into arms, and what's more, my colony decided to migrate to a new nest at this point, so it took me ages to slowly slime my way along the floor to our new breeding ground. I then tried creating a creature with overlapping features, and it produced some strange results, such as these weird stretched textures and the fact its legs go through its head when it walks. This creature did seem to get slammed more forcefully into the floor by rocks and trees, so I figured I would just make the absolute worst abomination I could possibly make, and oh my. This creature was such a mess that my computer could not handle it. Just look at the way its eyes are lodged in between about 6 massive legs. Plus, this creature was the first creature I'd made with arms, so I could now do things like pick up sticks. However, whenever I threw the stick, my game would completely crash, so I didn't do much of that. Honestly, this creature is just so fundamentally broken that just trying to pick fruit off a tree turns it into a scene from The Exorcist. As a result, I couldn't bear to travel around much just because I didn't want to have to buy a new computer. But on my short journey, I did encounter a flock of cows, and after running into the cows, my audio just started going mental. The best discovery I made though was that I had a setup of a huge boulder next to a geyser right next to my base. Therefore, I could ride the geyser high into the air and actually sit on top of the boulder, resulting in the game trying to force me through it, slamming me into the ground so hard my character actually skimmed across the floor before eventually stopping. Actually, all this being slammed into the floor is making me kinda hungry. Oh for fuck. Anyway, after being brutally murdered by something called an epic, which is essentially just a big and powerful version of a random species, I was fed up with this absolute mess and decided to strip it back a bit. Remember this epic for later though, because he may or may not appear again. Next I tried making the longest and thinnest creature I could, which went about as well as you'd think it would. Also, will someone please explain to me how this thing can pull off a flip, but when I try... With a little bit of tweaking, I found I could make it so I get my head stuck in objects, and due to being so low to the ground, when I walked over a nest, I noticed my face became completely deformed, to the point where my eyes weren't even attached to my face anymore. This also worked the other way around, where my legs got raised into the air instead. I wasn't stopping there though. My next creation was equally as strange, with its quirk being that as it sprints, its front end slowly takes off into the air. I also tried the geyser onto rock technique a few more times with this creature, and actually managed to get fully submerged for a second, but still nothing quite forceful enough to ruin the game. While I was doing this, a spaceship appeared over my head, but when I flew up to it, it turned out it was actually the ghost of a spaceship, which had the magical power to make the game crash. But no extraterrestrial life form is gonna stop me, I said as I added as many legs as possible to my creature. This didn't really do anything for me, but after messing around with its spine for a bit, I discovered that my eyes had completely disappeared. Where could they be? Oh, there they are, floating in the middle of space. I don't know what to tell you about this glitch apart from the fact it's a bit unnerving, to be honest. At this point I'd done long and thin, but I hadn't yet tried tall and thin. The consequence of this was a very wobbly neck that rapidly fades in and out of existence, but not much more, so I took the opportunity to nearly complete the rest of the stage, and earn enough money to experiment even further. And because of this, I removed everything to give myself a clean slate. Then it struck me, I haven't gone full blob yet. Yes, I'll make a creature with no arms or legs at all, and then my game crashed. So I tried again, and my game crashed. So I tried having 2 stubby legs, but that was just strange, and if I raised them in the air, I was just in slug mode again. Nothing quite seemed to be working as I had intended it to, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because when I next tried to get my creature to walk on these 2 great big scythes, he was born hovering in midair, looking as if he was some sort of zen being living on a different plane of reality. I pushed this further to the point where the scythes now detached from his arms, and then even further to the point he could no longer glide normally, but sort of hopped along. And you thought the way this creature walks is strange, you just wait till it tries flying. After a few flaps, it just completely takes off, and then dips back again, and then goes off to the side, and the camera just cannot keep up with this thing at all. Plus, look how it dances. To make things even worse, the Epic is back, and he's brought along a friend. Okay, at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I went on a bit of a tangent. I had a theory that if I could get these 2 Epics to fight, something would happen. So with a clear vision of what I wanted to achieve, I made a slightly more conventional character and tried to kite one epic to another. Unfortunately, I wasn't looking where I was going, and he managed to grab me and literally send me into orbit. Man, it's so peaceful up here. Maybe I could just stay forever. Oh wow. Not only have I just unlocked an achievement, but I'm now upside down. Oh no, I'm fine. I think I'm okay. I recollected myself and tried again to kite one epic to another, and this time it was a great success. Look at this battle of epic proportions. Oh, he's just one-shot him. No, what have I done? I can't believe he's actually dead. My mission had now changed. I was going to take revenge if it was the last thing I did, so I created a more aggressive species and assembled a team of mercenaries to take him down. We turned up intending to kill on sight, but he absolutely wiped the floor with me, and then again a second time, so I gave up and realised I'd spent about an hour doing pretty much nothing, and I needed to break this game once and for all. This was it. I made the biggest possible creature I could and headed back to the geyser, sure that eventually this rock technique would come through, and I'm pleased to say that after about 5 or so tries, I hit the ground so hard my game crashed. Then, when I reloaded the game, it looked like this. Words cannot even describe my feelings at this point. Part of me was elated that I'd finally broken Spore, part of me was worried that it was going to be permanent, and I would never be able to play the game again. Thankfully though, the game crashed about 20 seconds later. My computer actually shut itself down, and when I turned it back on, I managed to recover my screen recording, and the game was okay again. So there we have it, I finally did it. And now that I've broken Spore, a game about life simulation, I intend to go even further and glitch my real life. So I'm going to go do that now. Please subscribe to fix my dying computer, and thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.